This is book one of Echoes of Home, the story of a man who goes to a game world, has adventures, meets a native, gets married, finds his way back to Earth, and is now a superpowered couple on an unsuperpowered world. We now resume at entry number 84 by Tsu'na. Leave. There are different kinds of cheese. The cheese one can make with a recipe is made in this world by filtering the milk, such as cream cheese. The cheese one uses on pizza or sandwiches or omelets is not made as simply. What is filtered from the milk needs to sit for a long time. The simplest cheeses need hours. Many cheeses take days or weeks or months. In Eorzea, husband had sometimes wondered why there were not recipes for certain things. He had guessed it was because the process for making things like wine was lengthy or complex. Apparently the same is true for cheese. Perhaps a recipe can be devised for cheeses. I will leave it to him to theorize about these things. I simply want something to do with the cow milk. A beef pie is a beef stew in a pie crust. I looked at beef stew recipes online and picked a few to try. If Mr. Hartman is willing, we can test them with the diner customers. I do not think the evening children seek beef pies. Husband seems pleased with the recipe I tried today for dinner, though as he often does, he suggested I use more onion. When we arrived at the pit for my bouncer shift, Sam had a question for me. Hey, Miss Tuna, you say you like hunting? I sometimes do, yes. I glanced at husband, depending on the target. He grinned and told Sam, a lot of the stuff around here is kind of on the tame side. Sam nodded and asked me, ever hunt pigs? We hunted pigs sometimes on deployment, yes. Wild hogs and wild boars. Great, because there's a guy out named Joel Davison got a farm west of here that's looking to get some pigs cleared off his property. He farms pigs? He farms corn. He's got pigs eating his corn. I looked at husband who nodded. I'd heard about that. Wild pigs were invasive over a lot of Oklahoma. And Joel wants them gone. I asked, how big are these pigs? Sam paused and looked at husband, who looked it up on his phone. Looks like 2 to 3 feet tall and 150 to 300 pounds. A bit smaller than boars we have hunted then, but bigger than a tuco tuco. And this farmer will pay us for hunting these pigs? If y'all can do the job, said Sam. You'll want to see proof of that first. Maybe start with 3? What proof will we want to see? Maybe bring him the ears? Husband watched me as I talked with Sam. Then I realized, no, he was not. I recognized this pattern. He was observing me. This was one of his experiments, one for which he wanted me ignorant. But I could not be too ignorant. Where is this farm? West down 51, then north a bit, said Sam. Joel wrote directions. Husband said, maybe he should show you on your map? I got out my journal, set it on the bar, and turned to the page with a map of the local area. Sam leaned in to peer at it. It's a bit west of this. You got another page? I dragged the map to the right to show the area to the west. Sam stared at it. How'd you do that? Husband answered, smart paper. Yeah, right. Okay, think it's here. Sam touched the map with his finger, and a red circle appeared. He kept staring at the page. Really smart paper. Husband smiled. Blah, blah, classified, blah. Sure. I asked, and he will pay me when I show him the ears? Now he'll give me a check and I'll pay you. You folks like cash, right? Yes. Thank you. I will see to this tomorrow. I closed my journal and put it away. It seemed I had another job which at least was different from the others. Then I realized, no, I did not. I recognized this pattern too. I had a quest. Or perhaps it was a leave, one of the odd job quests we did in Eorzea. That would make Sam the leaf meat, the person who handed leaves out to adventurers. But many Eorzean leaf meats had an initial quest to demonstrate one could do leaves, a qualifying leave. I opened my journal again and turned to the quest list. For the first time since coming to this world, there was a new entry. Collect 3 pig ears from pigs at the Davidson farm. It was one of the only 2 entries, the other being the fishing quest I never completed. I looked up at husband, who was observing the journal. I have a quest, I said. Looks like, yeah. Along with, what's that one? Feast of Famine. Oh yeah, I never finished that one. Will you be coming with me on my quest, husband? I can, sure. Want a tank or a healer? Perhaps I simply want your company. Do you not want to observe your test subject? Always. Maybe I'll go bard and play you some background music. That will probably scare the pigs. Did you set this up with Sam? Kind of. He'd heard about the pig problem and mentioned it to me. I wondered if it could be made into a quest. And what does Sam get from being our leaf meat? A piece of whatever the customer pays. And will other adventurers be coming here now? Husband hesitated. This was yet another pattern I recognized. You are not aware of there being other adventurers in this world. Until tonight, I wasn't aware there could be quests. This was an experiment. I gathered, yes. Will you experiment to see if there are other adventurers? He blinked at me, then turned away, lost in thought. Another familiar pattern. I let him ponder his thoughts while I watched the bar. Dang it. My crappy old eyes require a larger font, but that cuts into my window in Google Docs. Entry number 85 by Steve. Dead Pig. I never thought much about our adventure journals when I was in Eorzea. Magic world, magic skills, magic book, it all seemed just part of the package. It acted kind of like a book-shaped Fitbit, telling me things about my body, keeping track of things I'd learned, and places I'd been, and the reputation I had with various people. It worked pretty much like what I played the game. It was handy. That it works here on Earth is also handy, and only as surprising as anything else we do working on Earth. Tracks places we go on a map? Sure. Tracks places we find resources together? Of course. Shows the numbers that indicate how strong we are. Cool. But until that pig hunting quest showed up in Tsu'na's journal, I hadn't really given much thought to where the information came from. The game world is natural infrastructure for such a thing, with quests written into the very environment. But where's the infrastructure here? Is there a layer of information or scripting somehow in this world that is normally unperceived, but that our journals are tapping into? Color me skeptical. I think what's actually happening here is that we have a much more intimate relationship with our journals than I realized before. I think maybe the journal taps into our minds as well as our bodies, showing us the sum of our knowledge and experience. We go someplace, we see what's there, and the journal map updates. We find iron in such and such a place, and the journal gathering log updates. We learn such and such a recipe, and the journal crafting log updates. Which means manually writing recipes into the journal in order to learn them is perhaps at best a waste of ink. We should be able to learn the recipe by experimentation and practice and have it appear in the book when we get it right, since that would reflect our new knowledge. Writing a recipe into the book only works now because it's the ritual we've developed to tell ourselves this is a recipe. At least, I hope that's true. If writing the recipe into the book imbues us with knowledge, it sounds a little like memory manipulation using brain surgery. So the quest appearing in Tsu'na's journal may be reflecting her understanding of things. She understands she now has a quest, so that's what her journal says. The next thing to try is for me to somehow get a quest. Maybe Sam will have a leaf for me sometime. As for her quest, we rode our bikes out to Joel Davidson's farm. We checked in at the house. Mr. Davidson was a bit of a stick, maybe late middle age, and not terribly enlightened, since Tsu'na stood in front of him in her barred clothes, both slung over her shoulder, and he addressed me. "May I help you?" Tsu'na answered, "We are here about the pigs." He looked at her, then back at me. "Oh, you're the folks Sam said would be coming?" "That is correct," said Tsu'na. "Please tell us where the pigs are." Davidson gave her a slightly longer glance and asked me, "Where's your gun?" "My wife will be doing the hunting." "Where's her gun?" "She hunts with a bow." That got him to at least look at Tsu'na up and down. He snorted and started to turn back inside. "Wasting my time." 3 ears, yes?" asked Tsu'na. "We were told you wanted to see 3 ears?" "Yeah, no little girl's gonna get him with no damn bow." "No charge if I fail," I said. He thought about it, then shrugged. "Suit yourself. The pigs are over on the west side. Spotted them around the tree line. Don't bother coming back when you give up." He went back inside and slammed the door. We studied the door a moment. "He seems nice," I said. "Why didn't he not like me?" "I'm sure he was expecting some manly man with a big gun. Google Hunter and that's what you'll see." "I have heard of people hunting with bows in this world." "Some people only hear what they want to hear." We spent most of the next hour hiking along the edge of a cornfield toward the western tree line. It was a nice day for it, in the 70s. I thought it was a little late in the year not to have harvested the corn, but that's not our business. I was tempted to break out my botanist gear and harvest some myself, but that wasn't what we were there for. A group of wild pigs is called a sounder. A sounder can have anywhere from a handful to a few dozen pigs in it. When we first spotted pig activity, we shifted to botanist so we could sneak in and see what size sounder we were dealing with. I counted 11, Tsu'na said 12. Either way, I thought it would be manageable. We backed off to the edge of bow range. Tsu'na switched to barred and swept over targets. "See the ones you need?" I asked. She nodded, settling on one target, drew, and loosed. It made a grunt and went down. The other pigs were briefly unsettled, but seemed less so when the body faded. "Got ears?" She checked her inventory and nodded. I thought she'd shoot a couple more and be done with it, but instead she lowered her bow and watched the pigs. "The others don't count?" "They do. I am waiting for a respawn." "But there's plenty other targets, right?" "Mr. Davidson wants pigs gone, does he not? If my kills respawn, that will not make pigs gone." "Brilliant as ever, my love. But this is just a qualification quest. When it comes to the actual hunting quest, I'm hoping the targets will stay gone. Otherwise, we can't finish the quest, right?" "That makes sense. But what if it does not work?" "Well, I've been wondering if we need to try earth weapons to see if our skills transfer. Maybe shooting a pig with an earth bow won't cause a respawn. Of course, that leaves us with a dead pig." She peered at me. "What does one do with a dead pig?" "Cut it up for the parts we want." A butcher can do it for us. There is a butcher east on 51, but they charge a lot for it, especially the skinning. There's hunters that cut up their own animals, take off the meat, the hide, and so on. Tsu'na was looking increasingly apprehensive. I do not think I want to deal with a dead pig. And what about the parts we do not want? Well, butcher shops usually have arrangement with factories that take the leftover animal parts and make them into stuff like pet food, fertilizer, glue. Her lips pursed. She studied the ground. You okay, my love? I am imagining a machine that eats pigs and shits blocks of glue. It's probably a lot like that, actually. Though I think they. Husband. Yes, my love? Have you done more research for your airplane? So I talked about flaps and ailerons and joysticks and cabling and elevation and drag and a number of other things that had absolutely nothing to do with the industrialized processing of aftermarket animal remains. The pig had respawned before I got to landing gear, so her theory proven, she was happy to hit her remaining two targets. When we knocked on, yeah, sorry. When next we knocked, Mr. Davidson opened his door with, "I thought I told you to." He stopped at the sight of Tsu'na holding up 6 pig ears in a Ziploc bag. He looked at them a moment, then asked her, "Where'd you get those?" At least he was talking to her now. She answered, "From your pigs." "Where's the pigs?" "You did not say you wanted the pigs." "Yeah, but did you leave them out there?" "No, the pigs are taken care of." He nodded slowly. "Well, guess you did the job." "Okay, so gonna do the rest of them?" I took over for the business end. "We saw a dozen pigs out there. We can clear them out for $5.50. Kinda a lot for just shooting my pigs, ain't it?" I shrugged. The big name pros charge more. "Maybe I should go with them? Because they're pros?" "Sure, you can do that. They'll come out with a fire team of 5 in camo, higher-powered rifles, and night vision goggles. They've got a management company and sponsors and lawyers and licensing and insurance, and you'll need to get a permit from the state for nighttime firearm use on your property. All told, that'll start somewhere around 1500. I gave that a moment to sink in. Or you can settle your tab with Sam for 550 and your pigs will go away. Mr. Davidson wasn't thrilled with this assessment, but he wasn't turning us down flat either. He looked at Tsu'na and back to me. "Let me get back to you. How do I reach you?" "You reach Sam. Have a good one." As we walked away, Tsu'na said, "Fire teams, camo, night vision goggles? We do not have these things." "No, but we have targeting and quick knock." Quick knock is a barred area of effect attack that shoots a spray of arrows at a target and other targets surrounding it. We come in from either side with AoE and drive them together into the middle. She nodded thoughtfully. "And we must kill them all, old and young? Otherwise, the young will grow up and breed more, and they won't see a reason to leave." "I wonder if we will gain Scourge of Pigs as a title." "Guess we'll see." Entry number 86 by Tsu'na. Honest work. Googling. Cage the Elephant. American rock band. Genres: alternative rock, indie rock, psychedelic rock, garage rock, punk blues. Green Day. American rock band. Genres: punk rock, pop punk, skate punk, alternative rock, power pop. Punk rock, a music genre that emerged in the mid-1970s. Rooted in 1960s garage rock, punk bands rejected the perceived excesses of mainstream 1970s rock music. They typically produced short, fast-paced songs with hard-ish melodies and singing styles, stripped-down instrumentation, and often shouted political, anti-establishment lyrics. My qualifying leave was successful. We returned to Sam and got the reward. The next leave was not available right away, though. Mr. Davidson had not yet told Sam he wanted the work done. Sam told us he would call us when the leave was available. This is more convenient than having to go to the leave meet each time, as in Eorzea, though less convenient since completing the leave here did not teleport us back to the leave meet. We had thought that if Mr. Davidson approved the job, we would complete it after our diner work, but we did not get a call before bedtime. When we still did not get a call in the morning, we found other things to do. Husband went to gather fire shards. I could have gone with him, but instead I took the bus to Tulsa. I do not know what draws me back to the game. Perhaps I am driven to look for differences between my Eorzea and the game's Eorzea. Perhaps I miss my Eorzea. It has not been long since we came to this world, but husband believes we may not see my home again. Or perhaps it is as husband says, that the game can show us how our skills can work in this world. Rika was waiting for me when I logged in. She did not jump for joy as she did when I named her. She simply stood there in the void. I wondered what she did when I was not logged in, whether she was bored or had adventures I did not know about. Husband would probably say that she was not real and did not do anything without me, but watching her standing there, blinking, breathing, looking at me, it is hard to think of her that way. Rika does not know how to do things. I remember husband stating in Eorzea his impatience about needing to learn things he already knew. That impatience is now mine with Rika. She did not know how to go to an inn room until she went outside, gained several levels as a gladiator, and did several quests. I knew she should have been able to simply talk to the innkeeper, but she could not do that. I watched the talk on the Novice channel. Most of it was irrelevant or irreverent, but some with questions that were clearly from people who had not played very long and who had not lived in Eorzea. People would ask when they could get mounts, or when they could fly, or when they could reach the PvP area. The answer was frequently that they needed to follow the MSQ, or main story quest line, which Rika had yet to do. She did not know about retainers, the assistants we had in Eorzea who sold, held, and gathered things for us. I could not simply have her hire retainers from the retainer locate. She first needed to do a quest to learn what retainers were. Once that was done, she could hire retainers, though the hiring was very similar to creating a new character. She could look at the market board and see what was for sale. While I looked at listings, I noted the names of the sellers and how silly most of them were, even sillier than the names of other people in the game. These would be created by other players, people putting up goods for sale, as husband did in Eorzea. Which made me think. Husband and I seemed to be the only people in Eorzea he would call players. Yet there were goods in Eorzea that we could buy from the market board, and things we listed for sale did sometimes sell. I do not remember any of the sellers' names in Eorzea. Were they retainers? And if so, whose? And who bought our goods? This is something I should probably ask husband about to see if he has a theory, after I tell him I have been playing the game. So many things familiar yet new. Meeting the Sultana, meeting Thancred, learning to mine, learning to weave. It has been long enough that I do not now remember not knowing how to make hempen yarn, and here I was doing it for the first time with Rika. I did not feel her fingers working as she spun, or her arms getting tired as she swung a pickaxe, or her pain as Beaskin fought her. Husband would have experienced these things for the first time in Eorzea after having experienced it effortlessly in this game. Perhaps he also experienced fear. I am learning about him as much as about the game. Husband called to say that Mr. Davidson had agreed to the job, so I met him at home to join him in a nap before a long night. The diner work was ordinary, though Mr. Hartman did have words for husband about the music that was playing when he returned to the diner for an errand. I told you not to play punk. Come on, it's just Cage the Elephant. It's no more punk than Green Day. Green Day is punk. Green Day's not punk. Husband brought out his phone to check. From the look on his face and Mr. Hartman's, I suspected Green Day was in fact punk. The children were entertained watching them going through husband's music, trying the different songs to see what they could agree about. I did not know which songs were Cage the Elephant or Green Day. Mr. Hartman seemed to approve of the ones with less shouting. We flew out to the Davidson farm after locking up the diner for the night. The room was full enough that we could make out the land below and see slight movement. This will not always be the case. I should talk with husband about what he called night fishing goggles. Our plan had been to use our bows with quick knock, but when we arrived, I wondered if this was the best approach. Must we use bows, husband? It's about a leave, so it shouldn't matter as long as the targets get dead. Why? I wonder if pigs will escape should our arrows not hit them. Perhaps we can use axes instead? Tank aggro to keep them coming toward us rather than running away? Good idea, my love. So as not to startle the pigs, we approached quietly as ninjas. Then, on either side of the group, we switched to warrior, readied our battle axes, and struck. We hewed through all the pigs that were there, hardly giving them time to squeal. When we were done, and we were certain there were no more targets, we stood in an empty clearing with pig meat and pig hide in our inventory. It was not battle. It was hardly effort. I did not feel as if I had done anything more significant than vacuuming. Hunting the cows was similar. I missed hunting the ovum in Anurag, but this was honest labor which will earn us honest pay. We stood in the clearing and held each other as we often did after a task we had finished. Our armor hampered intimacy, but I at least was not feeling a strong need for it. We had sometimes felt passion after a fierce battle. We did not feel that then. We were content to return and walk home and lie quietly in each other's arms after a job done. I am not saving the world. I am not battling armies. I am living a peaceful life with a man that I love, doing honest work and making things. I look at this and think there should be something more to say. Tsu'na is experiencing multiple existential crises. One would almost think she develops them as a hobby. Excuse me a moment. Entry number 87 by Steve. Story. I guess the laptops were a good investment. Sure, I use mine enough, but Tsu'na has really taken to hers. She researches words, concepts, recipes, culture, chemical composition, and I don't know what all else. Sometimes she's glued to it reading books or comics. I have yet to introduce her to social media. No idea how it'll color her reality. She said she wanted agency, or at least she agreed with my use of the word. I want her to have it. I want her to be able to be her own person in this world. Not that I ever want to live without her, but I also don't want her to be some sort of sidekick who only knows how to follow my lead. We're good together, and the more each of us is, the more there is of us together. And it means life is more full of surprises. And surprise is good, right? Keeps things fresh and all. So We were in the workshop with her on her laptop and me working on the ultralight controller when I got a surprise. Do you understand computers, husband? Yeah, I've worked for them for a long time. I want to know how they are different. The computer at the library and the computer in Tulsa where we played the game look different from my laptop, but the things on the screen are similar. What is the difference between them? Well, the Tulsa machine is bigger and more powerful, so it can run bigger things and run them better. The library computer is bigger than your laptop, but is probably older and can't do as much. I do not understand. If it is bigger, can you not put more things inside of it? Yes and no. The bigness of a computer is determined by the mechanical parts in it. All things being equal, bigger parts might hold more than smaller parts, but if a smaller part is that much better, it might hold more than a bigger part. And newer parts tend to be both better and smaller than older parts. She blinked at me. It's been a while since I've had to explain this stuff to anyone. Okay, a computer is kind of like a brain. Stuff you use in it, like Chrome and Notepad and FF14, are like knowledge that goes into the brain. The mechanical parts in the physical box are what make up the brain. A brain doesn't have to be physically bigger to hold more knowledge if it's just that much better of a brain. That started to click for her. And the library computer is not as good a brain as my laptop, even though it is bigger. Right. And the Tulsa computer is a much better one, and some of that does come from its size. And the game is knowledge that is in the Tulsa computer, but not in mine? Correct. Chrome and Notepad and FF14 are all programs which are things that tell a computer what to do. You can add programs to a computer. Could the game be added to my computer? It's pretty big. These laptops were cheap. I don't know if FF14 would fit on them, and I'm pretty sure it wouldn't run well. Things started to click for me too. Why do you ask? She looked away from me. You want to play the game? Final Fantasy XIV. Yes. The game you told me not to play. Yes. She had a look I've come to think of as her we need to talk face. You've been playing the game. Yes. In Tulsa. You've been taking the bus out to Tulsa to play. Yes. That is why I want to use my laptop. She still wasn't looking at me. I set down my tools, went around the workbench, and put my arms around her. She rested her head against my chest. Why didn't you tell me? There are things that you do not tell me. Yeah, for testing things and not biasing you, not because of what? Embarrassment? Embarrassment, yes. I stroked her ear with my thumb. We're in this together, my love. If it's something we have to deal with, we deal with it together. If it's something we can laugh about, we laugh about it together. I was so upset with you about the game. Now I am playing it. Yes, my love. Isn't it funny? I felt her chuckle. So can we buy a computer that would run the game? Well, I haven't looked into hardware prices for a while, but I suspect a decent machine with a good screen and a supportive chair would run about $1,500. We do not have $1,500. No, we don't. Maybe after some more pig calling. Wish you'd mentioned this before we bought the engine. You wanted the engine. I want my wife happy. So how far have you gotten? Rika has met Thancred and has fought an Ascian. I thought she would meet Istola. Istola's in Lanasia. Ida and Papalimo are in the Shroud. If you start in Thanalan, you get Thancred. She pulled back to peer at me. But Papalimo, everyone gets their own storyline from the beginning. Yes, of course. Everyone saves the world, as we did. I suppose I hesitated. She studied me. I guess there's something I'm not telling you, look. There is something you are not telling me. Well, technically no one saves the world in the game. The primals, the Garlean invasion, the calamity, these things do not happen? Oh, they do, yeah, but people have quests to stop them. And once they do the quest, the world is saved, yes? Yeah, but see, you've got a primal that's about to be summoned and cause death and havoc and suck all the life out of the land, and you've got a quest to keep that from happening. And if you do the quest, it doesn't happen. But it also doesn't happen before you do the quest. So if you never do the quest, it doesn't happen. So technically, no one saves the world because the world was never going to end. Tsu'na blinked slowly as she absorbed this. What does happen then, if one does not do the quest? The story doesn't progress, the world stays the same, you don't get the cheers and adulation you get from having vanquished your foe. So, if I do not do the quest, if I simply do something else like class quest, fishing, relic, weapons, airship construction, yes, if I stop to do those things, then the ending of the world will wait for me? Pretty much, yeah. I've done it in other games, focused on doing everything but the main story quest line to experience it all. Often makes me stronger for saving the world. She nodded. I will think about this. She gave me a rueful smile. The next time I am in Tulsa. Cool. Let me know how it goes. I left her to her laptop and went back to work on the controller. I thought I had dodged a bullet. There was a conversation we probably should have had in Eorzea that we never did, and it looked like we wouldn't be having it right then either. Not before I thought we were ready to, because she hadn't made the connection. Husband. Yes, my love. What about in Eorzea? Or maybe she had. What about it? We had quests in Eorzea to prevent those disasters. Had we not done those quests, would the disasters never have happened? It's possible. You never said this to me in Eorzea. I mean, it was just a theory. We're talking about potentially catastrophic events. I couldn't afford to be wrong. Yet when Quile told us our friends were still trapped in Norvrend, you were so confident that freeing them could wait while we did other things. I wanted us to be better prepared to help them. By mining in the diadem to earn pets? I didn't have an intelligent response to that. She glared at me. You knew what would happen, because you had played the game. I didn't know it would be all exactly the same. Plus, I never finished the post-Shadowbringers content. The the stuff that happened after the final fight in the Tempest. Yet you had a theory that the Primals would never ruin the land, that the Garleans would never conquer Eorzea, that the final calamity would not happen. I had that theory, yes. Then why did we do all that fighting? I sighed. To further the story. To fulfill destiny, to bring the world from a point where a disaster could happen to a point where the disaster had passed. People died when we furthered that story. There was a line from Sherlock that came to mind. That's what people do. I didn't think that would help this conversation. Yes, they did. And they wouldn't have if we didn't further the story, except it's more that they wouldn't have died yet. The story was fate. It was going to happen because if it didn't, nothing else new would happen either. Ever. Would you want that? She blinked a couple times as she stared at me. I do not know. People died in Ishgard, but the war ended. People died in the peaks, but the battle was won. Could we not have saved them? Can you think of a point where we could have? She studied me. You are saying they would have done the same things, that they would have been in the same places, because it was fate, because it was the story. For each of us, yeah. That's what I think. Did you ever try to change the story? Sure. Remember all those times I tried talking to Sid and Nero? I was hoping I could engage them as scientists and try to figure the world out. They did not seem to want to talk to you. Yeah, I could never break them out of their scripting. Their scripting. You mean what the story told them to say? What they were fated to say? Yeah. You called them NPCs, non-prolific conversationalists. She remembered that. That's not actually what that stands for. It stands for non-player character. Your character in the game, you said her name was Rika? She's a player character, she's controlled by you. Any character who isn't controlled by a player is a non-player character. They are part of the game, the story, the program. Right. And part of my world, which is a story. That's what it seemed like, yeah. How could I not know this? Well, you had nothing to compare it to. You had no reason to think that things could be different from where they were. Until you arrived. On the one hand, I had discovered her world. On the other, I had changed it. Or I was changing it here while talking with her. And this world? She asked. Does it have a story? Not that I'm aware of. So people are not fated to actions? Disasters and calamities are not part of stories that cannot be changed? As far as I know. Will disasters and calamities wait for quests to be completed before happening? I don't think so, no. She studied me for a long moment, then she closed her laptop and stowed it. I will gather corn. Corn? The greenhouse we talked about will need a lot of plastic. I will gather a lot of corn. You okay? I will tell you after I think. She left without looking at me. She was gone all afternoon and through dinner time. Since it's the middle of the week, I could handle the diner by myself. After I closed up, I checked her position in the journal map. She was still out at the corn node, not moving. She said she needed time, and I knew she could take care of herself, so I let her be. Maybe I should have gone with her and been supportive at her. We didn't have existential crises like this in Eorzea. Her reaction to it and my response to said reaction are new territory for us. I think I just heard her come in. Guess we'll blaze a trail or something. Ah, Struggle is going to finish EOH and then get to Elemental. I wondered about that. I hadn't seen any commentary from him recently. I wonder if he's ahead of where I'm reading right now. I should have asked him before he left. Okay. Last entry in the evening. He said he's behind. So he came in time for a spoiler. Ha! 78. I think that was the last one he commented on, yeah. Last chapter, last tic tac. Let's hope I don't dry out. This is a long one. In all fairness, Jerry, we're talking 120 entries. And just because one of them is only 4 words long, it's still a lot. I mean, yes, one of us could probably read the whole thing in a day. I'm not. Used to was when a new Terry Pratchett book came out, I would hide away somewhere and just slam the whole thing. Can't do that now. And only partly because there are no more Terry Pratchett books. Hmm. Okay. Last entry, number 88 by Tsu'na. What happens now? The plants in Eorzea do not change. There are fields of grapes and groves of trees and plots of melons that are always there. No matter how much time passed, I did not see crops disappear. I came to the cornfield in earth where I had come before, and there was no corn. Someone or something had removed it all, and all that remained were short pieces of stalk in the ground. Yet my botany skills said there was corn there. I could see vegetation clumps here and there, normally hidden in the corn stalks, and when I went to harvest from them, I found corn. So I spent the afternoon harvesting corn in a cornfield with no corn. Thinking too much is not thinking. Feeling is not thinking. I have learned that when thoughts and feelings fill my head with noise, I cannot truly think about any of them. If I wish to think when this happens, I first need to not think. I believe this is husband's Zen. I felt the thoughts and feelings filling me when husband spoke of fate and story in my world. I know I needed to understand what he had said and what I felt about it, but when I am thinking too much to think, it makes me restless, feeling like I need to go somewhere and do something. Hiding under a blanket does not help as much as swinging a hatchet or a pickaxe, or perhaps a sword. So I came to this cornless cornfield to think of nothing more than the next year of corn and the next after that. I now have 1,128 ears of corn, and I am able to think. From the moment we met on the street in Olda, there were things husband did not tell me. Had he told me that he was from another world, I would have believed him. I had met other people from other worlds. What he told me was that he was a scholar from another land who had studied Eorzea, which explained how he knew so much about my land but had never swung a sword. It did not explain how he knew me when he saw me, or how he knew so many details of my adventures. I did not think the minstrel's tales were so specific, nor did I remember sitting for a portrait. But I did not dwell on these things. He was interesting and engaging, more so than anyone else I ever met in Eorzea. He always had something new to say. He sometimes made me laugh. He had a sword when I met him. He told me he planned to be a gladiator and then a paladin. He said he wanted to be able to protect, that he hoped it would be useful. At the time, I thought he meant useful to others. I now think he meant useful to me. But it was a long time before he spoke of his homeland. Sitting with him in the quicksand, I pressed him to tell me who he really was. He simply smiled and said, "I'm the leading man." He said it was a joke and that there was a story behind the joke. He has not yet told me that story. Google Final Fantasy XIV, I'm the leading man. Balthier, real name Fafren Mid Bonanza, is a playable character in Final Fantasy XII and Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings. He's a sky pirate who globetrots Ivalice on his airship Destral with his partner Fran. During an attempt to steal from the royal palace of Rabanastre, Balthier encounters Van robbing the palace treasury. When his plan goes awry, Balthier finds himself a part of a conflict between political forces that could lead to war. Princess, no need to worry. I hope you haven't forgotten my role in this little story. I'm the leading man. You know what they say about the leading man? He never dies. In all the time husband has spoken of Final Fantasy XIV, I did not stop to wonder about Final Fantasy 1 through 13. Final Fantasy, a Japanese science fantasy anthology media franchise created by Hironobu Sakaguchi and developed and owned by Square Enix, formerly Square. The franchise centered on a series of fantasy and science fantasy role-playing video games. The first game in the series was released in 1987, with 15 numbered main entries having been released to date. Or, it would seem, a 15. I have been to Rabanastre. It was in ruins. Perhaps this Final Fantasy XII speaks of another world where Rabanastre was not destroyed. Or perhaps it depicts the past. I have met time travelers too. But this Final Fantasy XII is a video game, one that tells a story. As Final Fantasy XIV tells a story. Someone heard or read or imagined the story and made a video game about it. And that story looks very much like my world. I discovered this now by playing the game. Husband discovered it by coming to my world. Husband has theories about this. One is that the makers of the games had abilities like the Echo and could see my world as if it was a dream or their own idea. Another is that my world is one of infinite worlds, and that any story written would look like some world somewhere. Yet another is that somehow many people believing in a world is enough to create it. Final Fantasy XIV, a 2010 massively multiplayer online role-playing game, MMORPG, for Microsoft Windows, developed and published by Square Enix. It is 2021. I was 24 years old when husband met me. The game is younger than me. It does not make sense that the game or the players of the game could have created a world and my parents and my foster parents and me, and somehow my entire life happened before husband came. Though time passes differently in different worlds, and time in the game passes very quickly. I saw 2 sunsets in the game while playing one afternoon. And time passed differently in Aorisho for husband than for me. He experienced things I had already experienced, spoke with people I knew had died, could not speak with people he had not yet met, could not visit Ishgard until he experienced everything I had before I fled there. He called it phasing. He talked about timelines and time sequences and time loops, that he and I had our own timelines, in which we would see the same things but not together, and that the world would change for us accordingly. Having now played the game, I think this may be what the game calls the main story quest line. I did not know before meeting him that one could revisit a dungeon, that a dungeon was in a time loop that allowed one to experience it over and over. He insisted we try, and so we conquered Sasasha multiple times. The Scion soldiers that accompanied us never seemed to think anything was amiss, though they never seemed to focus on anything but the battle. Husband and I could discuss the dungeon, or skills, or even crafting, and the soldiers would simply stand at the ready. He called the time loops instances. He also used that word to talk about battles with primals and other large monsters, or forays into large complexes with many more soldiers than with dungeons. So many things occurring in time loops, and I had not known because I had only done them once. Yet nothing about it was strange to him. He simply accepted all these things of which I was never aware. He would try this and try that, and be satisfied with the result, and moved on. Which means the world he was encountering was familiar to him as was the game. But he did not tell me this. Not until much later did he tell me that people in his world thought my world was not real, that when they saw my world in the game, they thought it was only the game and nothing more. A painting rather than a window, a video rather than a view, a story. And it was a story he already knew. He knew to expect this dungeon or that quest or that encounter. I did not need to explain to him how to fight the battles or what his new skills meant. Though I did sometimes need to guide him through new cities, and now I know why. The cities look so much smaller in the game. Certain things did seem wondrous to him, as if he had only heard of them before, which would have been true if he had been the scholar he claimed to be. Others seemed disappointing to him, like Hullbreaker Isle, not because of anything in it, but because it's not as funny when the NPCs step in the bear traps. He was right. When I used rescue to pull him into a bear trap, it was much funnier. But these things were all part of the story he knew. He knew his future and decided when he would step into it. And when his story finally caught up to mine in Kagani, it meant he knew both our futures. And he did not tell me this. He did not tell me I would come to feel sorry for villains. He did not tell me friends would die or sometimes only seem to. He did not tell me that time and time again worlds would hover on the brink of destruction waiting for us to rescue them. And he certainly never told me that if we did not want these things to happen, we could simply stop, that the world would wait for us, that the fighting and the horror and the grief and the tragedy would linger in our future, but not confront us until we were ready. He demonstrated it, though. It is clear to me now that he had at least suspected things would wait for us. He dallied in the diadem, harvesting rare materials for his crafting pursuits in the firmament. He explored and hunted in Eureka and Bosnia. He spent time furnishing our house and sending airships and submersibles off on missions. And when I complained about accompanying him on these outings, when I pointed out that there were people to save, he insisted that there was time, that we should be at our best for the trials ahead, that we should be strong in mind, body, and soul, and that one way to do that was to relax. He did not tell me he knew what these trials would be. He did not tell me of the expected yet surprising betrayal, of the world-shaking revelations, of the pain I would feel as my body struggled to hold itself together. Yet he experienced these things too. As our timelines took us to the same places and the same events, he walked into them knowing how unpleasant they were to be. I want to be angry with him for not telling me, for not preparing me. But I think about it now, after gathering so much corn, and I think I do not know what I would have done had I known what would happen. I want to think I would have still done what needed to be done. But perhaps I would have hesitated. Perhaps I would have doubted. Perhaps I would have spent the time dreading what was to come. Perhaps with enough dread I would not have been strong in mind, body, and soul. Instead, husband did all the dreading for both of us, and still he walked into the future. A few weeks ago, we watched a video called Edge of Tomorrow. It was about a man who lived the day over and over, fighting against an alien enemy, dying each time only to wake up again at the beginning of the day. He died again and again, and a woman who fought alongside him died again and again, and he saw her die again and again. In the middle of the story, they came to a house. They rested. He tended her wounds. He made her coffee. He told her of the basement under the house that had food, a place she would be safe while he went on ahead. Because he did not want to see her die anymore, she went on anyway and died again. I want to be angry with husband, but it is hard to be angry at someone who did not want to see me suffer sooner than I needed to. Perhaps if I had been the one to know our future, I would have done the same. And what good will anger be now? We are no longer in that world. We are no longer living a story he knows. Even if we are now in a story, it is one neither of us has read, so we are facing the unknown together. In Edge of Tomorrow, the woman asked the man, "So what happens now?" He answered, "I don't know. We never got this far before." And if husband is right, we left behind copies of ourselves in Eorzea, or we are copies of them. Perhaps his anger has a place there, where Eorzea him and Eorzea me are still living a story that he knows and she does not. Though husband said he did not finish the post-Shadowbringers content, so perhaps they too are facing an unknown future. It has long since gotten dark in this cornless cornfield. I have gathered corn, and I have gathered thoughts. It is time to go home. Husband was in bed when I got home. His laptop was plugged in on his nightstand. He was awake and watched me come in. He did not say anything. He would have served the children at the diner by himself while I was out thinking and gathering corn. I had said I needed time, and he had given it to me. He had found himself in a strange world, and his first thought was to take up a sword and become a gladiator, to be useful, perhaps to me. He is patient when I do not understand his world. He is kind when I do not understand my body. He is fiercely angry when I am threatened or slighted. He was waiting to see what I would do. I undressed and got into bed with him. We put our arms around each other. Is it true that the leading man never dies? I can think of 7 movies where he did. 7. I can make a case for 8. Perhaps there are times I would not mind if he did not tell me something. Please try not to die, husband. Of course, my love, for you.